Guys in class, your homework's out. Make sure your name's on it. Both assignments is Mondays and Tuesdays. Let's pass that up. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about the confusion on that lesson. There's no way I'm ready to start. All right. So today, well, here's the thing. The end of the semester has kind of snuck up on me. Well, I realize it's December. I didn't realize we were this close because we have 2 weeks, basically. Today and then 2 weeks. So I'm going to do a lesson today and tomorrow. 2 different lessons, so you're going to want to make sure you get logged in and watch. And then Monday and Tuesday, we're going to start the Unit 4 review. Next Wednesday, I'm going to do a study session in a Zoom call, a Zoom meeting. So I'll tell you what time, come in and we'll do a study session. And then Thursday and Friday, we're going to take the test. I'm doing it that way, and that's for the people online as well, because if we don't do well on the test, I want to give us time to do corrections and retakes if I need to. But then that last week where we would normally be doing finals, this is where we're going to focus on if there's a quiz you can retake that we need to focus on, like remediate and bring grades up, or if there's missing work. Okay, that's where we're really going to hit it. So that's what we're going to do, since we're not given a final in this class. So any questions on that? Okay. Guys online, anybody have any questions about what I'm going to do? I'll take that as no. So today, what we're going to work on, I'm skipping ahead and I highlighted it in red on the page so it might be easier to find, is lesson 4-6, the quadratic formula and discriminate. Hopefully I can get through all of it today. If not, I'll finish it tomorrow. Okay, so again, this is lesson 4-6, the quadratic formula. And discriminate. I'll get to what those are, what that is in just a minute. Okay. So, here's the thing about the quadratic formula. Like, we just spent time factoring. I mean, I just spent like a week and a half factoring, okay? And that's a great method for problems that factor, but not every quadratic equation can be factored. You have to be able to multiply to get 2 numbers, then add to get that middle number. That's the only way they'll factor. So I don't recommend using factoring as a way to solve quadratic equations. The way I recommend for you guys, and the way I recommend that you be really good at, is with the quadratic formula, because every single problem can be solved using the quadratic formula, even though every single problem cannot be factored. Okay, so this is the method you should be good at, because on the test, when I just went over it to look at my review, I've got 2 graphing problems on it, and then the rest of them you can solve any way you want. And so you could solve them all using this method. All right, so remember that a quadratic equation is written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and this is standard form. And for you to use the quadratic formula, it needs to be in this form, okay? So you need to make sure it's written in this form, and I'll do one where it's not, and we put it in that form. Now, the quadratic formula is just that. It's just a formula, okay? And we're solving for x, because remember, we're looking for where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So the quadratic formula is x equals the opposite of b, whatever b is, it's the opposite of that, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. That's the formula. Is that blurry? Guys are... That help a little bit? Okay. So that's the formula. If you, Caitlin, if you need to move over to kind of center yourself, you can.
Say minus 4 times 2.
It's minus 4AC. Okay. So this formula again is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. And these a, b, and c's come from the equation. They come from here. Okay. Now again, I'm not necessarily going to ask you to memorize this formula. I'm probably going to put it on the board. But you need to be able to plug numbers into the formula and simplify. So let's do a problem. And again, we're going to use this method to solve quadratics because not all problems can be factored, but all problems can be solved using this formula. So here's your first example. X squared minus 10x equals 11. And if you notice, first off, that is not written in standard form. Okay, so I need to get the 11 on the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides first. And that's going to give me x squared minus 10x minus 11 equals 0. Now, I'm going to tell you the way I do this. You do it however you want. I usually take a minute and identify A, B, and C first. And I write that off to the side. So I know what I'm going to be plugging into the formula. So when I look at this, A is the coefficient in front of this x squared. If there's not a coefficient in front of it, that means it's a 1. So in this case, A equals 1. B equals negative 10. And C equals negative 11. Again, I take a second and go ahead and identify those. I'm not going to count off if you don't, but I have found it's usually easier. So now I've got my A, B, and C. I'm going to plug them into this formula. So I'm going to start with x equals the opposite of B. Well, B is negative 10. The opposite of that means it's positive 10. Plus or minus B squared, so negative 10 squared, minus 4 times A, which was 1, times C, which is negative 11, all over 2 times A. So in this step, all I've done is plug in the A, B, and C's. So what questions can I answer about this step from anybody in the classroom or anybody online? We good so far? Okay. And then from here, we're going to simplify. And I know I make that sound easy. I've done it a few times. I'm just going to work this left and right and simplify it. So the 10, I'm going to end up with x equals 10 plus or minus. Negative 10 times negative 10 is positive 100. Guys, this number right here, this very first number, I don't care what the number is in here. It's always going to be positive when you square it. So that's going to give us positive 100. Then negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 11 is positive 44. That's all over 2. So we get x equals 10 plus or minus the square root. 100 plus 44 is 144, all over 2. Now, because this is a perfect square, we need to go ahead and keep going. Okay, we're going to simplify this. And the square root of 144, and when you do this on your own today, you're going to want to check, so put it in a calculator, is 12. And you see there's a plus or minus, so I'm going to solve 2 equations here. I'm going to solve 10 plus 12 divided by 2. That takes care of this plus sign right here. And then I'm going to solve 10 minus 12 divided by 2. That takes care of the negative sign. Okay, there's two equations here. Does everybody understand that? So that when I solve this first one, 10 plus 12 is 22. 22 divided by 2 is 11. That's one of my answers. 10 minus 12 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. There's my other answer. That's where this parabola crosses the x-axis, and that's the quadratic formula. It's going to seem like a whole lot more work when I'm working it out and you're taking notes. When you start doing this on your own, it gets a little bit easier, but this is how you do it. Now, this particular problem factored, but not every one of them will. So I'm going to do another one. In fact, I'm going to do a couple. Make sure we got this. Hey, guys, if you're online and you've got questions, you're going to need to turn your mic on and ask because I'm not facing my computer screen. All right, so let's do another one. Let's do x squared plus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And again, take the 10 seconds to identify your ABC. Trust me when I tell you it's easier if you write them off to the side so you know what you're plugging in. So in this case, A is 1. There's nothing in front of that x squared, so it's 1 because there's 1x squared. B is 6. C is negative 16. So those are the numbers that I'm going to plug into this formula. The opposite of B plus or minus B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. So we're going to take these A, B, and C's and plug them in here. The opposite of B, if B is positive 6, is negative 6. Plus or minus, that's part of the formula. Then I'm going to do 6 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Again, in that step, I'm doing nothing more than just plugging numbers in. So now we go to simplify. We get negative 6 plus or minus. 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 16 is positive 64. And that's all a square root, and that's all over 2. So now we need to simplify what's under that radical. So x equals negative 6 plus or minus 36 plus 64 is 100. And that's all over 2. One hundred is a perfect square. So it becomes negative 6 plus or minus 10 all over 2. And because the square root of 100 is 10. So that's going to give me two equations to solve. Negative 6 plus 10 divided by 2, that plus comes from right here. And then negative 6 minus 10 from here, divided by 2. And then we solve these two equations, and we're going to get our two answers for x. So negative 6 plus 10 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. There's one answer. Negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. There's the second answer. All right. People at home, what questions do you have? Unmute your mics. Let me hear you. I'm going to start calling you out by name. You guys know I will. They doubt me. Aiden, you got any questions? Type in the chat box. You got it? Okay. Jessica, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. And Leah? Lauren? Quincy, y'all good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. See. All right. Yeah, okay. All right. Good. Just wanted to hear you. Everybody in here good on that? Okay. Now, one of the things I did say is I said that you can solve every single quadratic this way. So when we started, and I want to do a couple with you because I always get questions about these. What happens if? So here's your next example. Follow along because I don't want people asking me later. I mean, you can, but so let's say we get 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. We saw these on our second lesson when we were solving 4-3 day 2 when we were solving square roots. Okay? But we can use the quadratic formula for this. I just wanted to show you. So in this case, my A, B, C, again, I recommend you do this. A is 4. B, there is no B. So B is 0. And C is negative 9. So these are the numbers that I'm going to plug into the formula. So I'm going to do 0, x equals 0 plus or minus. And honestly, I would normally skip this step if it were me doing it, but I'm showing you that I'm plugging these things in so you can see it. So 0 squared minus 4 times A, which was 4, times C, which is all over 2 times 4. Yep. Right. So remember, quadratic, the question is how do we know B is 0? Remember, quadratic equations are written in this form. So I've got my constant is C. There's no BX term. There's no X term in the middle here. That's what makes your B 0. Okay? So in going to simplify this, I'm going to get 0 plus or minus 0, and then negative 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times negative 16 times negative 9 is 144. And that's all going to be over 8. So we're going to get 0 plus or minus the square root of 144, which is 12 over 8. This reduces, okay? We don't need that 0 anymore. This fraction actually reduces to x equals 3 over 2 plus or minus. So we can do this when the b term is missing. And so I'm showing you this because if you can't remember how to factor, then get good at this method because this method works for every single problem. Now I'm going to do one where C is missing. Everybody got that at home? If you can't remember how to factor, and I find that students have trouble remembering how to factor, then remember this method because every single problem can be solved using the quadratic formula. So what's A? Thank you. A is 15. Logan, what's B? Logan, you there? Alexis, what's B? Thank you. It's negative 5. And what's C? Thank you. C is 0. So those are the numbers we're going to plug in. So the opposite, and I'll write the formula down again, the opposite of B plus minus B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. So the opposite of B is going to be positive 5 plus or minus negative 5 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times a. So at this point, I just plug the numbers in. But see, there's my c right there, and it's 0. So when I go to simplify this, I'm going to get 5 plus or minus, negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. Negative 4 times 15 is 60, negative 60. Negative 60 times 0 is 0. So I could put plus 0 here, but I don't need to. Okay, I don't need to. So I've just got 25, the square root of 25, and that's all going to be over 30. This is a perfect square. So we're going to do 5 plus or minus 5 over 30. We're going to get 2 answers here. 5 plus 5 is 10. 10 divided by 30 is 1/3. That's one answer. 5 minus 5 is 0. 0 divided by 30 equals 0. So again, when we're solving quadratics, and even when we come back from Christmas, we're going to be solving quadratics. When we solve, because I haven't even gotten to complex numbers yet. When we solve quadratics, yes, we can use factoring as a tool, but not every problem can be factored. But every single problem can be solved this method. Now, I skipped a problem in my work, in my samples for you. The one I skipped, and I want to show you because I'm not going to work it out. Maybe I should. Because of your homework, I want to show you what you would do in this case. So let's say I give you a problem like this. In fact, I want everybody to go ahead and work this out with me. So you're going to do x squared minus 4x plus 13. Last problem. I'm not going to do the discriminant today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So you've got your a equals 1, b equals negative 4, and c equals 13. So when we go to plug these in, we're going to get 4 plus or minus negative 4 squared is 16. Okay, so I'm just going to write 16 now. Minus 4 times 1 times 13 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So when I go to simplify this problem, I'm going to get 4 plus or minus 16 minus, because negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 13 is negative 52. So I'm going to put minus 52 all over 2. When I simplify this under the radical this time, I'm going to get 4 plus or minus negative 36 over 2. Okay. Now, when we start working with complex numbers after Christmas, I'm going to show you how to simplify this because there is a way to simplify it and get an answer. This is what's called a complex answer. I think this is what you were looking at yesterday, Caitlin, the complex. So for today, everybody hear this. For today, you will stop here. Okay. This isn't the final answer. But it's where I'm stopping for now because I'm not doing complex numbers right now. If you get an answer under the radical today where this is not a perfect square, for instance, I'm making this up. This is not a real answer because I'm not doing the problem. Let's say you did something that looks like this. 3 plus or minus. Okay. Something like this. Leave your answer like this. Don't put it in the calculator and give me a decimal answer. Just leave it like this for now. Okay, I'm going to show you how to simplify these later. Today, I just wanted to make sure we're good on the quadratic formula. So, having said that, does anybody sitting in this classroom need to see another example? I don't mind if you do. I've got plenty. Make this stuff up. Okay. Does anybody online need to see another example? You can type.
So On the one we just did where -36 is, yeah, why did we stop there?
Because this is a complex number, and let, let me just show you what that answer actually would have been, and I'll show you why I'm not ready to kind of explain that any further. The actual answer to this is going to be 4 plus or minus 6i over 2, which reduces to 2 plus 3i. So that's your final answer right there. And I'm not ready to explain that I yet.
Oh, okay.
That's lesson 4-4, and that's a whole other beast. I want to save that for after Christmas.
So how do we know if it's a complex number?
This negative sign right here.
Oh, okay.
The negative, anytime you have a negative under the radical, it becomes a complex answer. And what that means is it's not crossing the x-axis.
Okay.
Okay, so this could be a parabola that looks like this. Or, something that looks like this, where it's not actually crossing the x-axis. Those have complex solutions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Your homework's on Canvas. I highlighted it in red so you can find it easy on the home page. I think I just wanted you to do the evens. Make sure it's in standard form before you find your A, B, and C, and that's what you're going to work on. Yeah, I think just do the evens. Just do the evens. If it doesn't say do the evens, just do the evens. And then for you guys, I'll go over it with you on Monday, and then we'll start the review. For you guys at home, I will go over it tomorrow. And then tomorrow, I'm going to do the discriminant. I'm going to do the second part of this lesson. Questions? All right, guys, get started. I'm going to post this video for this class to the page, so you'll have it if you need to go back over and look at it again. If you don't have any questions, you can log off.